Welcome to Free Thinking Through the Fourth Turning. My name is Sasha Stone. Finally, they said their names. Fallen heroes and a hero's welcome at night 3 of the RNC. Quote, President Trump represents America's last best hope to restore what, if lost, may never be found again. A country where a working-class boy born far from the halls of power can stand on this stage as the next Vice President of the United States of America. JD Vance. Tulsi Gabbard's voice is greatly missed from the Republican National Convention. However, it still resonates profoundly in our culture, especially after Vice President Kamala Harris insulted JD Vance's love of country and called her out as only Tulsi Gabbard can.
Shortly after President Trump announced that JD Vance is going to be his running mate in this election, Kamala Harris issued this scathing warning to the American people.
Hey everyone, so Donald Trump has picked his new running mate, JD Vance. Trump looked for someone he knew would be a rubber stamp for his extreme agenda, and make no mistake, JD Vance will be loyal only to Trump, not to our country.
The audacity that she has to say this is off the charts. She's talking about JD Vance, someone who enlisted in the Marine Corps after the terrorist attack on 9/11, someone who deployed to Iraq in 2005, the same year that I was there during the height of that war, putting his own life on the line in service to our country. Was Kamala Harris willing to put her own life on the line in service to our country at any time in the past? Is she now? No. Kamala Harris is driven by her own political ambition. She's a self-serving politician who should not be in office.
So many of us, especially on the left, don't think much about the people who put their lives on the line every day in service of this country. But in JD Vance, Trump has found someone who can offer more than just empty words. According to military.com, quote, Vance, 39, is the first post-9/11 veteran to find a spot on a major party ticket, and if elected would likely be the first Marine veteran to serve as the second in command. He is the first veteran on a major party ticket since John McCain in 2008. That mattered when the Gold Star families took to the stage to say their names, a chant heard over and over again since the catastrophic exit from Afghanistan. The first real sign to the American people and to the world that the leader of the United States did not know what he was doing. What a difference 8 years makes. When he was still green as a politician and not yet the leader he is today, Trump famously made fun of a Gold Star dad after he read out loud the Constitution at the Democratic National Convention in 2016. The press made much of it at the time, but they've said nothing about how our government memory hold the deaths of 13 American soldiers. Say their names.
I'm gonna keep making noise on here till it blows up one way or another. Say their names, Joe Biden. Say their fucking names.
It's the guts and it's the glory.
Come on, left wings.
100
Come on,
stripes,
Hollywood.
100 stories.
Say their names.
It's the
Where
pledge
you
of
at now?
allegiance on the 4th of July.
Democrats and the media have repeatedly excused the disastrous military operation that would ultimately destabilize the global order. Nothing to see here. Move along, move along. It wrecked Biden's approval ratings, and they've never recovered. Say their names.
Not a single general slapped down their stars, which should have happened 2 years ago when Biden ignored his reliable intelligence. Not a single person has been held accountable. Our so-called leader can't seem to even utter their names in public, not even once. Mr. Biden has run his entire political campaign for 50 years as the family man. Well, I've got news for you, sir. The curtain has been lifting, and that campaign slogan will never work again.
Up until night 3 of the Republican National Convention, there had never been any major ceremony or remembrance of the fallen. We saw their military funerals. There was a hearing in Congress. But their names, faces, and personal stories had never been properly memorialized in any major way, not in the State of the Union, and wholly forgotten during the first presidential debate of 2024. Say their names.
All Americans deserve the freedom to be safe, and America is safer today than when I took office. Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then, through my...
The general public has never called them heroes. Well, that changed last night. Before their appearance at the RNC, a short documentary played with interviews from the Gold Star families, all of them angry that the Biden administration had mostly ignored them while Trump hadn't. He'd given them his time. He knew their children, they said. That matters if you're the commander-in-chief, a job neither Joe Biden nor Kamala Harris are suited for.
Military being deployed, and that they had decided that the Taliban was our security, that was when I became terrified. They were just kind of left there, hung out to dry.
Breaking news for you from Afghanistan, where there are significant casualties, including some Americans from a
I was at work
attack outside the country.
And heard about it. Instantly had that just chill go through me, and I started sending messages.
I'm talking to people. I'm calling his girlfriend. I'm saying, well, have you heard from him? I'm calling his sisters. Have you heard from him? You know, we're texting. We're saying, please, just send us a text. Just whatever. Just let us know that you're okay.
When all the explosions went off, I had messaged her and I said, hey, you know, I know you can't say anything, but, you know, just an emoji, just a bubble.
And then 3:30 in the morning that night, I got the knock on the door. You know, there's no other reason 2 Marines are standing on your door.
Right away, they told you.
When the families finally appeared on stage, tears were already streaming down the faces of almost everyone in the hall, as they often are when we come together to talk about military deaths. We know they died serving their country. Some grown men could be seen openly weeping at the unimaginable loss of an avoidable tragedy. But because the legacy press has been in the Biden administration's pocket for 8 years now, Afghanistan has never become the full-scale political scandal that it should have been. What happened to all that gear? What happened to Afghanistan? Did it spark 2 wars in Ukraine and Gaza? I don't know anything about military operations, but I know that when you rush out of a country, you'd better be sure you protect your soldiers from terrorists, and you'd better be sure you aren't leaving with bodies falling off airplanes. We're better than that. No one watching was prepared for just how moving it would be to hear the names of the dead soldiers, all of them way too young, finally read out loud. As tears streamed down their faces, they bravely held up pictures of their loved ones, gone forever, gone too soon.
I'm Christy Shamblin. My daughter-in-law, Sergeant Nicole Leanne G. Was a United States Marine, and she was killed at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan, alongside 12 of her brothers and sister-in-arms. While Joe Biden has refused to recognize their sacrifice, Donald Trump spent 6 hours in Bedminster with us. He allowed us to grieve. He allowed us to remember our heroes. Donald Trump knew all of our children's names.
All 13 service members who lost their lives at Abbey Gate. David Espinoza. Nicole G. Taylor Hoover. Ryan C. Knaus. Riley McCollum. Dylan Marola. Kareem Nakui. Dagan Page. Johanny Pichardo. Humberto Sanchez. Jared Schmitz. Maxon Sobiak. And my son, Hunter Lopez.
We don't often see such moving tributes at political conventions, which celebrate how successful and united a political party is heading into an election. But here, under the direction of Donald Trump, it would not be the same old thing, big hats and Jimmy Buffett songs. This was going to make a strong case for the changing of the guard, and not a moment too soon. Like Melania Trump, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner are noticeably absent from the RNC, at least so far. They have decided that family must come first. They can't raise their children with the entire left viciously savaging them and everything they do. That's probably a wise decision. It was then left up to Trump's oldest granddaughter, beautiful young Kai, to speak to the crowd.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kai Madison Trump. I am the granddaughter of Donald Trump. I'm speaking today to share the side of my grandpa that people don't often see. To me, he's just a normal grandpa. He gives us candy and soda when our parents aren't looking. He always wants to know how we're doing in school. When I made the high honor roll, he printed it out to show his friends how proud he was of me. I know. He calls me during the middle of the school day to ask how my golf game is going and tells me all about his. But then I have to remind him that I'm in school and I'll have to call him back later. When we play golf together, if I'm not on his team, he'll try to get inside of my head. I know. And he's always surprised that I don't let him get to me. But I have to remind him I'm a Trump too. Even when he's going through all these court cases, he always asks me how I'm doing. He always encourages me to push myself to be the most successful person I can be. Obviously, he sets the bar pretty high, but who knows, maybe one day I'll catch him. On Saturday, I was shocked when I heard that he has been shot, and I just wanted to know if he was okay. It was heartbreaking that someone would do that to another person. A lot of people have put my grandpa through hell, and he's still standing. Grandpa, you are such an inspiration, and I love you. The media makes my grandpa seem like a different person, but I know him for who he is. He's very caring and loving. He truly wants the best for this country, and he will fight every single day to make America great again. Thank you very much.
You wonder, how could the left find anything hateful in that? I haven't even bothered to look because, to tell you the truth, I don't even want to know. Quote, "This morning, I did walk out of a federal prison in Miami. Joe Biden and his Department of Injustice put me there. They can come for me, and they can come for Donald Trump. Be careful, because they will come for you." Peter Navarro. It's still hard to believe, even knowing how often this kind of thing happens in history, that both Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon have been thrown in prison for contempt of Congress. Bannon still sits in a prison cell, missing all of this that he's worked so hard for all of these years, finally bearing fruit. Navarro's time in prison is apparent on his face. He looks a little older, thinner, and much wiser. I suspect you were never the same when you serve time, just as you're never the same when you dodge a bullet.
For decades, the Department of Injustice right now, the Department of Justice policy stated, hear me out on this, if Congress slaps a subpoena on a senior White House advisor like me, the advisor's duty is to politely tell them to go pound sand. That's exactly what I did. So far we got two branches, legislative and executive. The judicial branch delivered the final blow. Just as, here's another favorite of yours, just as Democrat Judge Juan Marchand, you know this guy? Did to Donald John Trump in his Manhattan kangaroo court, another Democrat judge, a guy named Ahmed Maida, keep your eye on this guy, Ahmed Maida, Obama appointee, they stripped me of every possible defense, and then what? Just like in Manhattan with Donald Trump, they threw me to the wolves of an anti-Trump jury, and where? The D.C. swamp. They convicted me, they jailed me. Guess what? They did not break me.
As our authoritarian government and its weaponized justice system still hope to jail Trump, they would be well advised to take a good long look at Peter Navarro and Bannon too when he's finally freed. These men are made as tough as they come, and if they have to go to prison, they will. Yes, even Trump. The appearances by everyday Americans and their struggles under the Biden regime are the right messages to send, especially now, with all eyes on the event. While it's true that the hungry beast of the churn cherry-picked things they could ridicule, Matt Gaetz, Rudy Giuliani taking a fall, there was no getting away from the truth of just how badly the Democrats have failed the American people. And there's no getting away from how united and powerful the GOP has become, with Trump as its leader. Quote, "And I promise you one more thing. To the people of Middletown, Ohio, and all the forgotten communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and every corner of our nation, I promise you this. I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from." JD Vance. Bruce Springsteen abandoned them, Stephen King abandoned them, the Democrats abandoned them, Hollywood abandoned them, but JD Vance and Donald Trump will not. When you grow up the way Vance did, the way I did, in a rough and tumble way, where you dodged violence and you never knew where your next meal was coming from, you either get lucky and find an anchor to steady the ship, or you're lost at sea. For Vance, he found an unlikely person to turn him into someone who, like Trump, could take it and take it and take it some more. Maybe to some people it doesn't make sense for Trump to choose Vance, but remember, he's eyeing 2028, not just 2024. He's looking for someone as tough as he is, and there aren't many of those kind of people walking around. Like Vance, Trump was raised to be tough by tough people. His life wasn't hard because they were poor. They were not, but because his father was hard. He raised killers to never back down and always fight back. In that family, you didn't just have to survive, you had to win. These two men, with everything they've survived, now know what it's like to have bullets whizzing past your head. They have the stuff to take on what has become a ruling class oligopoly that will use every tool at their disposal to stay in power and to destroy anyone who dares confront that power.
Now, I pledge to every American, no matter your party, I will give you everything I have to serve you and to make this country a place where every dream you have for yourself, your family, and your country will be possible once again. And I promise you one more thing. To the people of Middletown, Ohio, and all the forgotten communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and every corner of our nation, I promise you this. I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from. And every single day for the next 4 years, when I walk into that White House to help President Trump, I will be doing it for you, for your family, for your future.
Can Vance give the kinds of speeches that win elections? Yes, he can. But what touched me more than that was when he shined the light on his mother, who is now 10 years sober. There she sat with echoes of the abuse and torment from Hillbilly Elegy, with her hands folded in her lap and House Speaker Mike Johnson sitting next to her, as JD opened his heart and told her he loved her. As she stood, the warm and welcoming MAGA crowd began softly chanting, JD's mom, JD's mom, JD's mom.
And our movement is about single moms like mine, who struggled with money and addiction, but never gave up. And I'm proud to say that tonight my mom is here, 10 years clean and sober. I love you, Mom. And you know, Mom, I was thinking, it'll be 10 years officially in January of 2025. And if President Trump's okay with it, let's have the celebration in the White House.
How can anyone not love these people? As she sat back down, she mouthed, "That's my boy. That's my boy." Surviving addiction is not for the weak. You either end up sober or dead. One of the people closest to me, my last boyfriend, whom I'd broken up with after 4 years, had kicked the heroin habit for decades. That's why it was such a shock on a random morning when he texted me and said he was trying to figure out what to do with his life. The COVID lockdowns had left him lonely and depressed. I should have offered to see him, but our relationship was over, and that was that. The next day, I found out shortly after sending me that text, he'd shot himself up with heroin and overdosed. I couldn't believe it. I texted him back stupidly, "Rick, are you there?" JD's mom is the face of someone taking it one day at a time on a precarious path with only 2 potential outcomes. Hopefully she has the kind of support she needs, but she should know she is loved and how the people in the red hats have welcomed her with open arms. And JD has welcomed her home. He promises a celebration for leaving her past behind and kicking a dangerous habit. Maybe, he said, that celebration would be in the White House. From his seat, gazing upon everything he helped build, Trump nodded and smiled. Thank you for listening to my podcast, sashastone.substack.com. And remember, to thine own self, be true.